minute out before I get into what I want to cover with you guys and share. If you look at what Josh talked about, Josh, where are you at for the month right now, bud?
1 by 10,000 personal.
1 by 10,000. We're at, we got another 10 plus days left between now and month end. And I wanted to share something. If you put that last thing up there. Or not? That's all right.
There you go.
All right, real quick. I think every time I get in front of the room, I did a training at my office on Saturday morning. We had 30, 40 people from the East Coast, from Miami, come over to our office, and we did a little luncheon at my house on Saturday. And we had Mark Young, who's at about $350,000, $400,000 of income, and then Assad Faraj was there, who's $1 million owner in the company. And every time I do a meeting, whether it's for brand new people, or I'm doing a video with the company tomorrow and Thursday in New York, every time I talk to new people about the business or people that want to take it to the next level, there's only two reasons people don't really take the next step or people don't get started. There's only two reasons that people in that hot meeting next door aren't going to take action, or there's only two reasons people are going to give you like goofy ass objections or concerns. Are you with me? And I was sharing this with these guys earlier. I was on a boat with some people on Wednesday or Thursday last week down by Marco Island. And one of my friends brought his buddy with him who owns some real estate with him or whatever. And the guy goes, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And he saw my car. He goes, "Man, that's a nice car. What do you do for a living?" I said, "I'm a plumber." And he goes, "Wow, it must be pricey." And so, I was bullshitting with him a little bit. I said, "I work with Primerica. Are you familiar?" He goes, "Oh yeah, that's that pyramid thing." And my first instinct was to grab him by his little skinny ass and throw him off the boat, and then choke him out and feed him to the sharks. And you ever have those things go on in your head, like you see yourself stabbing a guy, and then all of a sudden you smile and you say to yourself, "Oh, why do you say that?" And the reason people say ignorant things like that is, we're in 2018. And if you look at what our company has done, and more important, people don't understand what we do. And I think people don't take the time to fully understand who we are and what we do. And then the second reason people don't take action is they don't think that they can do it. And not thinking you could do it is part of, I understand that, but I think what happens is most of us in this room, if I asked you to come up here and explain the compensation program, you probably wouldn't be able to explain it. And I think part of the opportunity is the fact that you and I can truly build a company within a company. And we say that, and it sounds cool, and it kind of rhymes a little bit. It's kind of like a little jingle. But the fact is, Josh is just covering this here. Think about this for a second, right? All of you that are districts and divisions and regional leaders, the average transaction we do in our organization, this month we'll probably do close to $3 million of premium in our organization, which is probably 3,000 plus transactions. It's about $1,000 a transaction. And that means either people have no insurance and we implement insurance, which means if something happens to them, their family's protected, or they have the wrong type of life insurance. And this is my feeling, okay? And this is my feeling based upon 31 years experience. If people don't have Primerica life insurance, they don't have insurance. They don't have the right type of insurance. When I was new, I said, oh, maybe there's other policies that are okay. And so part of what I want to do is share with you, my belief is if someone goes, oh, I have insurance at work, well, that's an extra. And I didn't join here to sell life insurance. I didn't join here to buy life insurance, but I got pissed off when I saw the industry, so to speak, take advantage of people. And I think the thing that we got to realize is when someone says something ignorant, like the other day, a guy said to me, why do you think people say it's a pyramid? Because anyone's ever been arrested because it's a pyramid? Or somebody was raising money illegally? No. It's never, a client's never complained, right? Whenever we paid a death claim, we pay 1 to 2 a week in our organization right now. A client's never said, oh, you have $500,000 from my spouse, my widow, please don't give that, I heard it's a pyramid, right? You've never had a person put someone through college, right? Put someone through college because you set up a savings program for a little kid, now they have $100,000 or $200,000 in their college program because you never hear anything negative about, except when you look at what we do for people, and the industry is not going to say, think about it, we replace thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions a week in our business right now. And so when you look at that too, and then you look at the income potential. So what we do is good for people, then you look at the income potential. If the average transaction is $1,000, You pick up a check which is $83.33, right? You multiply that times 12, that's called annualized, right? Right? That's $1,000. So you pick up a check. I know you don't use paper wraps, but if you use the paper wrap like we used to back in the day, how many use the paper wrap? Both of you, awesome. So if you turn in a paper wrap and you pick up a check with a paper wrap for $83.33 and you send that to the home office, right? Or you pick up a turbo app and it's $83.33. They annualize it. They multiply it times 12, and then tonight, what they do is they'll cut you a check, which is crazy. And what they don't do is they don't give you 50% of $83 or $41.50. They multiply it times 12, and they pay you up front the first 9 months. The 10th, 11th, and 12th month of the year, you get paid in what's called as earned, which means you get in the 10th, 11th, and 12th month of the year. So picture this. Picture we recruit somebody tonight. Primerica doesn't know who they are. We put them through licensing, and all of a sudden, in the next 20 to 30 days, they get licensed. They go out and close a sale. They don't even know who that person is. And they're going to loan that person. If that person gets to district, they pick up a check for $83. They multiply it times 12, make it 1,000. What's 50% of 1,000? 500, right? So they picked up a check for $83 and they got advanced $500. They actually get 75% of that up front, and the other 25% comes in the 10th, 11th, and 12th month. So they get a few $100s up front, and the other money comes at the end of the year, their fiscal year. And even though they picked up an $83 check. So in our business, anytime you want to make money, you can write your own paycheck. I remember when I was a plumber, I used to get paid every Friday. Actually, Thursday we used to call in our hours, and then on Friday we used to get our paycheck, and then I'd pass out pay on Friday. And then when I saw this, I said, we can get paid every day. Remember payday, how pumped you were? Remember you had a bunch of cash in your pocket until the weekend was over, right? And so you're all excited to get to. So I look at this right here. If you look at what Josh just talked about, Josh gave himself a raise by going from 70% to 110% plus bonus. And as an RVP, if you do $10,000 of premium in your base shop, not personal, but in your base shop, what do you get as a bonus, Josh?
10% bonus.
10% bonus. So now it takes us to 120. And then if you do 20,000 in premium in your base shop, what do you get?
20% bonus.
20% bonus. That's 130%. 130%. The reason that you want to be focused on producing districts, right, is because you want to develop. How do you go from district to division by producing a district? How do you go from district to division by producing a total of 3 districts? How do you go from regional leader to RVP? You need 6 direct districts. We have, on the computer this morning, 403 regional vice presidents that we have a financial interest in. And I've never promoted an RVP. I don't know how to promote an RVP. Because if I did, I'd promote everybody tonight to RVP, and I do that. So what I gotta do is get people confident a little bit, get them to district, and then people promote themselves to vice president. And so what you want to do is realize anytime you want to give yourself a pay increase. So one of the things is, I think the how-tos come when the why-tos are there. You got to figure out what you want to get out of this thing, and then setting up, it's like anything, right? We get so complicated with, I got to learn all this information. See, people don't want to brush their teeth, they just want to have clean teeth, right or wrong? And you want to talk to somebody and knock their glasses off as you're speaking to them, right or wrong? People don't want a taxi, they just want to go from here to there. People don't want to go to medical school. Oh, I just can't wait to get into medical. No, they want to become a doctor, right? So I think what happens is you'll figure out how to get done what you need to get done if you figure out what you want. And for me, what I wanted to do is, I didn't know if this is something I wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do. And I didn't want to work construction the rest of my life. I was thinking about today, I was looking out and all these buildings by my apartment in the city. I got in last night, and you could barely see them, and it's raining, and I see guys up on the buildings doing stuff, and they're walking, it's rain's blowing, I'm sitting there going, I used to hate working outside in the rain. I used to hate working outside in the heat, the cold weather. There was 2 nice days a year I liked working outside, right? And I was thinking about that today. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to do that forever. So when all I had to do was learn how to speak to people and understand what we're for versus what we're against. And I want to share this with you. I think when you look at our business, I think you've got to look at the crusade. I'll never forget the first time I sat in the opportunity meeting. they showed a video of Art Williams at the end, and he talked about there being a crusade, and I'm sitting there going, this sounds like a cult, right? A crusade. I never heard the word crusade. It never popped into my vocabulary when I was in high school. Like, you know, hey, this is a crusade. We're having a party this Friday. You know, so when I thought of crusade, I picture like a guy on a horse with a red thong, a white horse, you know, taking over the country or something. And if you think about it, thanks, Bill. If you think about the crusade, Art Williams talked about a crusade. And so if you understand how the company started without wearing you out with a long story, but Art Williams' father passed away and he had cash value life insurance. He passed away when he was young. He was in high school. And when he passed away, and his dad passed away and left his mom with children and $15,000 of life insurance, $10,000 or $15,000 of income protection. Why is that on there? That's right. That's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm, you know. So, $15,000 of life insurance. And what happened was, he had a whole life policy, whole life, universal life, variable life, any type of life insurance that has a savings program. Mathematically, it makes no sense. And Art Williams didn't say, hey man, I want to start my own insurance company, I want to get... That's not what happened. He just got pissed off. He got a mad-on, so to speak. What happened was he was at a PTA meeting. Do they still have PTA meetings? Yeah. He was at a PTA meeting like in the 60s or 70s with his school. And he was a football coach, and his uncle was there at the PTA meeting. His uncle said to him, hey Art, what kind of life insurance do you have? And he said, I don't know, I got life insurance. You know, most people don't know what they have, right? Because I have life insurance. He goes, what do you mean? It's the same policy my dad had. He said, your dad had a crappy policy. Why do you have the same one? He goes, the same guy who sold my dad a policy sold me a policy. And he says, what type of insurance is it? He goes, I don't know, it's life insurance. He says, it's not whole life, is it? Or ordinary life? He goes, I don't know. He says, this is what I challenge you to do. He goes, go to the library tomorrow. Remember libraries? All right? Remember books? Right? So he goes, go to the library tomorrow and take out a book called How Your Life Insurance Policies Rob You by Arthur Milton. And that was the first book I read. It was boring as hell, all right? And I don't challenge you to read it, all right? But it was the first book I read in the business. It's How Your Life Insurance Policies Rob You by Arthur Milton. He actually spoke at a leadership school of ours years ago. And then he said, read that book and then read another book by John Pepin called The Games and Scams of Cash Value Life Insurance. And what Art Williams is, he read that book and he got pissed off and he wanted to choke the guy who sold him the policy. And he called him up and he canceled his insurance right there and bought a term insurance policy. In that book, what he talks about is, you should never, ever, ever, ever buy life insurance as an investment or a savings program. And what he realized was, he got pissed off, and what he realized was, for the same money he was spending for $10,000 or $15,000 of life insurance, he could have got $100,000 or $150,000. He could have got 10 times the coverage for the same money he was spending. And he got pissed. And then what he started doing is he started telling, you can shut that off, I won't be offended. He started telling his friends about it. He started telling his friends about what he did. And he started telling people to replace the policy that he had. So then, during the summer, somebody said, you should get a job. He got a job. There was a company called Waddell & Reed and a company called ITT Financial. And he started selling term insurance, buy term invested difference. And this was his presentation. I want to come by and show you what we're doing. I'm not coming over to sell anything. Even if you like what you see, there's nothing to buy. But if you like what you see, invite me back. If I can show you how to get more insurance or more value for the money you're spending, would you do business with me? And back in the day, even when I started back in 1987, everybody had cash value life insurance. The average homeowner in the state of New Jersey had 4 policies. My wife was a 25-year-old single girl when I met her. She had a policy. Her father had 6 policies, and her brother had 2 who lived next door. Italian family, moved out and bought the house next door. And next door. And they cost about right? And so they had, my wife spent $120 a month in life insurance for a savings vehicle. My father-in-law had 5 or 6, and my mother-in-law had 3 or 4 of them. My karate instructor had 3 of them. My accountant had 7 of them. How many times people would say to me, let me speak to my accountant, don't speak to my old accountant. He had 7, and my attorney had 4. Matter of fact, he's getting ready to use his, my attorney. He's not doing too good health-wise. But if you think about it, so when people used to say to me, well, I want to speak to my lawyer, I want to speak to my accountant, just because they're accountants and lawyers, that's like saying I have a leak in my yard, I'm going to speak to my electrician, right? Because my sprinkler's not working. And so Art Williams got pissed off, and then what he did is he started selling life insurance in the summer because he was a school teacher and a football coach, and during the summer he was off for about 6 or 8 weeks. And he started showing people how to buy term and invest the difference. And back then, he used to show people how to buy a term policy and take the difference and invest it in an annuity. And annuities back in the day were double digits, 11, 12, 13% in these fixed annuities when interest rates were higher. And he started replacing policies. So he was making $10,000 or $15,000 in the 60s, which was, I guess, a lot of money back then. And then he made $100,000 in the summer selling insurance. And he actually made more money than the president of the company. So what they did is they used to get pissed off because they would go to these little meetings, and these guys were selling cash value life insurance, and Art Williams only sold term insurance. This is how the company was founded. And the company and the president, people were bitching and moaning because he's making more money. He's only part-time. He would take the whole winter off, teach because he didn't quit his job, and then in the summer, then finally it got in his way. And I think that's when you quit your job, when Primerica gets in the way. You don't quit your job and then all of a sudden have plenty of time to do nothing. I quit my job when my job got in the way of me becoming successful. I was part-time. I made $147,000 part-time, and then I quit my job. And that was 20 plus years ago. And so if you look at, but people go, I want to come full-time. How about come part-time? How about spare time? How about any effing time, right? So put in some time first, right? And then you get consistent. And so he started making, and then the president of the company cut his territory. And then the next year he wrote more of it. Then he cut his territory again. Finally he said, I'm out. And the reason he was out is he's had more places to go than he had time to, which is why he started recruiting people. Hey, if you own a restaurant, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is your 4 big nights in a restaurant, and there's a 4-hour wait, what should you do? You hire more people and expand, right or wrong? Or else you're going to lose people, right? You ever go to a supermarket? I had to stop somewhere and pick something up this afternoon from my apartment. I went to the supermarket, and there was like 8 people online. What do? I find the one with no person online, I pay for it, and I get the hell out of there. Imagine if I was there for 6 hours, there's one register open. First thing I would think is they need to hire more people, right or wrong? So you don't recruit people because, it's one of those things where you recruit people when you need. Right now, Josh is field training a couple people. As good as he is, and he's good, right? It's improbable for him to write 30, 40, 50 apps a week, right or wrong? But if he has 30, 40, 50 people on his team, he can create more leverage, can't he? And so what happens is he started recruiting people, Art Williams started recruiting people, because he would save somebody money, they would give him referrals. And he'd save somebody else money, give him referrals. And then he started recruiting people over the kitchen table and said, Art, you're a football coach. What do you know about this? He said, well, I learned this myself, and all I want to do is show you how to do what I have myself. And he started showing people how to buy, term, and invest the difference in annuities back in the day. And he started making money. Then he started recruiting football teachers and football teachers and football coaches, basketball coaches and basketball teachers. And he started recruiting all these people that he had commonality with. And he had about 85 people. Then the problem was, they had that little compensation program. They had a thing called a general agency back then. It's called a GA contract. And a GA contract worked like this. No, GA contract works like this. And whether it's Allstate, Metropolitan, New York Life, State Farm, a GA contract is a general agent. So a general agent usually gets paid at about 55% commission. And then what they do is they hire agents at a 25% commission. Does that make sense? And then Art became a GA, a general agent. And he had a bunch of agents working for them. And eventually what happened is, they kept saying, Art, how do I become a general agent? And in the real world, like in the insurance business, in the investment business, in the real estate business, you have a general agency or a broker, right? And if you recruit somebody, you can give them this agent contract, but once they become a broker or a general agent, there's no more override. I have a kid I went to high school with, his last name was Best. He was from Dumont. And his dad owned a State Farm Allstate agency. And when this kid got out of high school, he kept saying, I want to be in the insurance business. I want to be in the insurance business with my dad. He couldn't go and get a contract because he was an agent. He couldn't go directly to the company and get it. He had to go to a different company. Because you can't, and if an agent is in your brokerage, you can't go past that person. They have to start over. See, Dennis Schechter, who overrode Joe Enser, who overrode us, okay? Dennis Schechter was a general agent, and he had about 10 to 15 people working for him for 20 years. 20 years later, he had 10 or 15 people working. None of them were the same people. Because once you recruit, hire, and train and develop somebody who's sharp and motivated and wants to go do something, like a Josh or a Steve Wendy or a Jaime or any of the leaders in this room that want to go become vice presidents when they're ready, everybody wants to be the boss. Everybody would love to own their own business if they didn't have to take a risk and lay out a bunch of money. And the problem is once that person becomes an RVP or a broker, there's no override. So all these people were coming to Art saying, Art, how do I become a general agent like you? So he went to the company, and the company said, we can't give them your contract, you have your contract. He goes, well, just give him another contract. They said, there's no such thing in the industry like that. So he left. And when he left in 1977, he took 85 people in his little agency with him, and they started a company called A.L. Williams. They didn't have a name, they didn't have a company to market their business. He just got pissed off and he said, we're going to go start a company, and we're going to create a business in which salespeople are king, and that the day that the company opens, we're going to create something that each and every year it gets better and better for the newest person. And the bottom line is, in 2018, it's better today than it was when we started in 1987. Not even a little close, huge difference how much better it is today, right? And so he took 85 people, and they didn't have a company's name, so they called it A.L. Williams, which is Arthur Lynch Williams, and they started that company. And they started showing people how to buy, terminate the difference. Now watch this. There was 2,000 life insurance companies out there. And out of the 2,000 life insurance companies, every company sold whole life. I'll move it up. And every company sold whole life and term. Except one company sold term insurance 100%. And that was a company called Massachusetts Indemnity and Life Insurance Company, Millico. My first life insurance policy was underwritten by Millico. Started in 1927. Primerica bought Millico and changed the name from Millico to Primerica Life. To this day, Primerica Life is the only company that markets term insurance 100%. Fast forward now, as downsizing and right-sizing and companies getting screwed, there's 900 companies, actually there's a little less, I think there's 869 now, and all those companies sell whole life and term except one, Primerica Life. Why do I share this with you? Because in my opinion, if I sit down with somebody and they don't have a Primerica Life policy, the only reason they'll sell a term policy 5 to 10% of the time is because term goes up in price. And they make it convenient for someone to purchase a term policy, and then when it goes up in price, they'll try to convert them over to a whole life policy. Primerica converts term to term. And if you look, and I'm going to make a statement, right? People go, oh, how competitive are we? Hey, listen, sometimes there'll be a 10-year policy. There'll be a 10-year policy that might be the same as ours, maybe a little bit less for 10 years. There might even be a 20-year policy. Is ours the cheapest? No. Is the car you drive the cheapest? Is the watch I'm wearing the cheapest? Is the belt I'm wearing the cheapest? Is the shoe? No. Cheaper is not always better. Better is not always cheaper. But I will make a statement, okay? And if you look at a policy between now and the time it expires, whether it's 90, 95, depending on the state you're in, there's not another policy out there that's more cost-effective than ours. And when you look at buy term and invest the difference, if they don't own our product, you got to feel good about that. And I'm telling you, when I sat in my meeting, I didn't even have life insurance. I could give two craps about life insurance. Oh, I sat down with my uncle, you know, Produce Pete Produce on TV. That was my first training sale. I sat down with Produce Pete. He knows a shitload about tomatoes, didn't know anything about life insurance, right? He had 4 or 5 life insurance policies, living in Bergenfield, New Jersey. I'll never forget, I sat there, we gave him 4 times the coverage for less money. I wanted to choke the agent that sold it to him. I didn't even know the guy. Because when you see, it's not like our blue one's better than your red one, or your green one's different than our yellow one. Listen, you can go buy a Honda Accord tomorrow at a dealership, and you could save maybe 40 bucks a month or 50 bucks a month. I just bought a Jeep, another Jeep last week, just to tool around in down in Florida, just to have. And I bought a little Jeep, and the guy goes, oh, this is better. Could I have went maybe to Fort Myers instead of Naples and saved, you know, $1,500 on it? Maybe. But when you talk about what we do for people over a period of time, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars difference. Game plan. And so I didn't sit here because I got excited about term insurance. I got all sexually aroused about term products, right? I just think the alternative stinks. It's the same thing with mutual funds and managed accounts and variable annuities. Not that those are phenomenal. I just think the alternative stinks, right? So I want to share something with you. And so when I first got involved in the business, there was a book called, it was a little brochure, it was called How to Win the Money Game. And in that brochure, How to Win the Money Game, it had a little brochure and it talked about who A.L. Williams was at the time. This was 1987, 1988. And in that book, one page had the rule of 72, and this was it. And in 1987, the maximum you could put in your IRA was $2,000. And that's why it shows $2,000. They stopped making it, so what I did is I copied it, and I put it on a piece of paper that's a little thicker, right? Size doesn't matter, that's bullshit. You know who says that? Guys with thin paper. And I put it on a thicker piece of paper so I could sit down and write on it and beat it up a little bit. And so what I did is every presentation I've ever done for 31 years, I just did one last week to help somebody at my office. I've never explained, ever explained life insurance without showing the rule of 72 with this page on one side and buy term as the difference on the other side. Right. Because I want people to understand whether they do business with me or not, they're going to know that I know, they're going to know I believe. They're going to know I believe what I'm saying is true. And so when you look at it real quickly, check this out. This example right here of buy term invest the difference. So this is what the industry talks about. So for most people, 9 out of 10 people when I first got involved in this business used to own whole life or universal life. And very simple, I sat in a meeting one time and the guy said, and I still say this when I close out an op meeting, does your auto insurance have a savings program? Does your health insurance? Homeowner's insurance, right? The guy was at my house today, the homeowner's insurance, right? Boat insurance, motorcycle insurance, Beach and Colette, no insurance has a savings program, right? Neither should your life insurance. And yet 9 out of 10 people that get sold a policy get sold the wrong stuff. People don't buy whole life, somebody sells it to them. Are you with me? So watch this. I'm going to make everybody in here 30, for example.
Thank you.
Right? And there's no way, Josh, you're 31 years old. Dude, you look like you're 16. Right? 30. And the average person, so these are the numbers from 1987. And by the way, they're pretty similar today. And in 1987, this brochure called How to Win the Money Game, what it said is, the average 30-year-old person in the industry had 2,000 life insurance companies that would sell you at age 30 $100,000 of life insurance. It would be about $935 a year. And the way it would work is, thanks, brother. I need glasses, so now I can't see it. No. So 9 was in focus for me, but no. So $935 a year. So the average company out of 2,000 companies back in the day, now it's 900 for $935 a year. And the way it's sold, and I would say to people, I'm going to pretend like I sell it. Just for a couple of minutes, I'm going to bullshit you. I'm going to lie. I'm not going to lie, but I'll leave some crap out because you have to. There's a saying in the industry: if you sell whole life, you can't sleep, and if you sell term, you can't eat. So watch. And I would say every time I explained it, I would sell it to him first. You with me? I'll say, listen, I'm going to make you 30. I know you're 70. I'm just going to make you 30, right? And the way it works is $935 a year. A portion goes for savings and a portion goes for insurance. Right now, as you're building up a savings program, if you ever need to borrow any money out of this, the way they sell it to you, tell me if this sounds familiar. If you ever need to borrow any money out of here, you could borrow it right out of your own policy. Did anybody in this room before Primerica own a cash value type of product? Raise your hand. All right. Tell me if this is all right. Did you buy it because you said, what's the worst policy you have, the most expensive, the highest commissions paid with the shittiest return? Shit, give me 3 of them, throwing on the kids too. Right? So what happens is, they leave stuff out. So they'll say, listen, are you saving all the money you'd like to save? Have I got a plan that's good for you? How much money you get back in your auto insurance? None. How much you get back after 30 years on your health insurance? None. How much you get back in your life insurance? Watch this. This 935, a portion is going to go for insurance and a portion is going to go from savings. And as you're building up this cash value here, anytime you need to borrow any money, you can borrow it right out of this policy, and we'll let you borrow it right from this plan. And in the industry, they average somewhere between 6 and 8% is the loan. How many have a credit card in here? And I would say to the client, you have a credit card, what's the interest rate? 12, 15, 18, 20, right or wrong? Here, if you ever need to borrow money, so let's just say down the road, you're 50 years old, and you got $20,000 built up in cash value, and you wanted to take out a loan of $10,000. You could borrow it right here, and it's cheaper than if you took out a loan or put it on a credit card. Are you with me? Then they tell you, look, well, so this would be kind of like an emergency fund. Then they tell you, look, from 35 to 65 is how many years? 35 years. And if you pay $935 a year, for 35 years, your contribution would be about $33,000. And at age 65, how much you build up? $45,000. So check it out. If you put in $33,000 into your auto policy, and 35 years later they gave it all back, plus you made a profit of about $12,000, isn't it free? So if it's free, why wouldn't you want it? That's why when people have them, they go, give me a blue one, give me a red one. And that's why, check this out, how many times have I gotten, the most I've ever seen in one house was 13 policies. And it's not all the same company, because if somebody from Prudential sold you a policy, someone from Metropolitan comes in and goes, all right, you don't want to mess it up because there's no fees and surrender. Do you want to leave that there? I'll sell you another one. I'll sell you another one. Are you saving all the money you like to save? It's kind of like people increase their income. They increase their savings, right? Someone just called me, they want to bump up their retirement, right? Another $100 a month. So they look at it like they're bumping up their college fund. They're bumping up the retirement plan, right? And they start adding to it. So look, you get all this money back, plus it's like free money. And what happens in this plan is there's 4 evils of cash value life insurance. And I talk about, so I'm going to show you how it really works right now. The first evil with cash value life insurance, and by the way, this was in the How Money Works brochure in 1987, and every time I explain it for 31 years, I explain it the same way. The first is it's expensive. It's not expensive, Robinson, it's what? Astronomical. You know why I say that? Because it was on a tape that somebody gave to me that they copied me doing it. And I took someone out in a training sale and he goes, it's not expensive, it's astronomical. Because I got that from your tape. I was like, all right, cool. So, it's not expensive, it's astronomical. Right or wrong? Why? Because you don't know it's expensive, because you have nothing to compare it to. Unless you have something to compare it to. Watch, if I'm an auto mechanic and you bring your car and I say, well, you need a new transmission, it's going to be $700, it's going to be $800. I'm the expert, right? Or you call the electrician or the plumber, right? Does that make sense? Well, if you call and you're not an insurance agent or you're not licensed, how are you supposed to know? So the expert comes to your house and says, I got a plan that's good for me. You, right? The problem is it's very expensive. Why? Because you're combining life insurance and savings together. Not only is it expensive, it's usually between 60 and 80% higher in costs than term insurance, which stinks. But the real problem why it stinks is because it's more expensive, people buy less insurance face amount. So when they pass away, they have 60 to 80% less coverage than they could have provided for their family. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's the first evil. The second evil is if you ever need to borrow any money out of the policy, whose money are you borrowing? OPM, not opium, OPM, other people's money, right or wrong? See, when you go to the bank and you take out an equity loan or you take out a car loan, you're borrowing someone else's money. If you charge on a credit card and you don't have the money and you charge it, they charge you 12%, 15% interest, you're borrowing someone else's money. If you put $1,000 in your savings account tomorrow and you went to the ATM and took $200 out, should they charge you 8% to borrow your own money? You put it in there. So a portion that you put in, so what people don't realize is when they take out, people don't realize what this thing is called right here. This is the buyer's guide to life insurance. And so in the Buyer's Guide to Life Insurance, back in 1987, 1988, this is 1988, I used to carry this goofy thing around. Because back in the day, there was no internet. There was no cell phone. We had dinosaurs. No. So, but there was no, so we would say to people, you couldn't Google it. You know, I'll just Google it. Right there, people Google, I've had people I've done appointments and people Google me while I'm sitting there. And one time, some talk I gave, I go, dude, that's my voice, what are you doing? He's like, Merv the Burb, he's like, how about if I Google you in front of your wife, pal, right? So, and in there, in the Buyer's Guide to Life Insurance, in the Buyer's Guide, it talked about the evils of cash value life insurance. And I'll talk about that in a second. But in there, you borrow your own money. The third challenge is you get a low rate of return. And the reason I go over the rule of 72 is not to show them that if you put $2,000, it's a $500,000 difference. If you do $10,000, it's a $2.5 million difference. It's a cost of loss. Why do you put $2,000 in one time? It becomes a $500,000 here. Over here, you put $33,000 in. $33,000, and it becomes $45,000. You know what kind of rate of return that is over a 35-year period? It's less than 1.5%. And as bad as banks have been, and by the way, interest rates are going back up. And for those of you that are younger, interest rates are going to go back up, and they'll probably be double digits again. I'll never forget, when I joined, CDs were 9 and 10 and 12%. And then CDs dropped to 10%. I'm like, they're getting screwed. They're only paying 10% on those CDs. There was a time a couple years ago where CDs were less than 1%. It's all cyclical, right or wrong. But watch this. The average cash value policy, the first 7 to 10 years, you lose about 80% of your money. The first 2 years, you lose 100%. 100%. So people go, oh, it's tax-free. You don't pay any tax when you lose money. You bought a house for $500,000 today, and next year sold it for $400,000. How much tax do you pay? 0. It's called a loss. And the reason you don't pay tax on a lot of these policies is because it's a loss. You get a low interest rate. Usually 7 to 10 years is negative 80%. If you hold it from 10 to 20 years, it's between 1 and 2% at best. And the average person holds that policy 6.5 years. So they never reap the return. And then the worst part about this is, watch this. Say this is your policy. You got $100,000 in life insurance. You're 65 years old. $45,000 in cash value build up. You had a heart attack, God forbid, and you die. You got $100,000 in life insurance, $45,000 in cash value. How much does your beneficiary get? Well, you got 100, and then you got 45. And the problem is they add it wrong because it only ends up to be 100. It's called reverting back to the company. And the way it works like this, you pay for 3, but you only get to exercise 1 at a time. You get life insurance savings and retirement program. And if you want to borrow, it's like a 3-legged stool. If you touch one of them, it affects the other one. Check this out. Here you got $100,000 of life insurance. You got $100,000 of life insurance. And if you take out a $10,000 loan, not only are you paying $935 a year for your premium, you're paying 6% interest on $10,000, which is what? $600. So now you're paying $1,535. People go, I don't have to pay that back. You don't have to pay it back. You just take it right from your cash.
Right.
You have to pay your loan back. I'll just take it right out of your savings. That's why they'll only lend you up to 90% or 95% of what's in your cash value, because if you don't pay it, they subtract it, and then when it goes to 0, it lapses. How many times I would sit down with people and go, no, I don't have to pay interest on it. So sure you do. Show me your statement. It shows $975 in interest. See, this is where it came out of your cash value. But I didn't give it to him. I know, he just took it. So what happens is, right here, you're paying $1,535 a year, and if you die, you have $100,000 in life insurance. But if you have a $10,000 loan, now you only get $90,000 of death benefit. So you're actually borrowing from your family. You're paying more money for less insurance. So watch this. How many have auto insurance in here? Hopefully you park next to us, right? All right. What do you spend on auto insurance? About?
$3,000.
All right, got a drunk driver. $3,000. $3,000. Who else spends money on auto insurance? What do you spend?
Less than 2.
Less than 2.
Like $1,800.
$1,800. Now watch this. $1,800. You pay quarterly, monthly, annually?
Quarterly.
Quarterly. So you pay $1,800 for the year, but you pay it quarterly. So he's got a term auto policy. Can you borrow any money out of it? Is there a college retirement fund built in? Are you saving all the money you want to save? Right? What he has, check it out, he's got a term, and I would explain this every time I did a policy example. You have a term auto policy, I would say to the client. Watch this. I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to sell you a whole life auto policy. Are you saving all the money? Like I said, I got a plan that's good for you. Check this out. Instead of spending $1,800 a year, spend $3,600 a year, and I'll make it expensive. Now, if you didn't really get pissed and throw me out of the house, right? And if you ever need to borrow any money, don't go to the bank or credit card. I'll let you borrow. You can borrow it right for yourself, and I'll only charge you 6% interest on that extra money you put in there. And if you get so here you borrow low rate of return. This money right here that I'm going to invest for you, I know some of the mutual funds I share with you did 12 and 14 and 9 and 8%. No guarantee, but based on past, right? This thing, when people die, there's always like family always comes out of the woodwork and they fight over the money. There's not going to be anything left over, so you don't have to worry about that shit. No one's going to be fighting, right? Here, if you ever need to borrow any money, you don't borrow. You will borrow right in front of yourself. And here, the low rate of return. If you hold it between 10 and 20 years, then you're going to make somewhere between 1 and 2% interest on your own money. And if you get in an automobile accident, this $1,800 covers your auto insurance, but any cash that's in there gets kept by the company and gets reverted back. You would go like this to me. You'd say, dude, I'll take $1,800 and buy my own auto policy, and I'll take $1,800 a year, save it, invest it, spend it, give it away, give it to the church. It's still better than losing it to a cash value policy, right or wrong? And so anybody, so watch this is the way I look at it. Anyone in their right mind, what if everybody in the state of New Jersey who had life insurance had this? Well, watch this. What if everybody in the state of New Jersey had auto policy that worked like that? And all you'd have to do is sit down with these people that are spending $3,600 a year and say, look, for $1,800 I can take the difference and invest the difference. How simple would that process be? Everybody who has auto insurance has that. Everyone who has life insurance has that, or anyone who has an auto policy has no insurance. So 59% of people who walk around right now have no life insurance. And if they do, they own the wrong kind. So I sit down with people and they would say to me, well, Keith, my agent said that's not true. My agent said this, and you're saying this. I said, okay, so what I would say to people, and I used to carry this thing around, which I don't do anymore, okay? But I used to carry this thing around, and it was called The Buyer's Guide to Life Insurance. And this right here is just a copy, and it's on. I have it downloaded, and I can email it to the RVPs, and you can have it, all right? But just for you, this isn't for us to pass around. I'm just using this for training purposes only. And it used to be a little book. It used to be a little book, and it was red and white. And then they stopped printing them because the insurance industry got freaked out because we started taking them off of Trenton, and we would leave them with every client. We used to have people walking around knocking on doors going, do you hear about the Buyer's Guide? Oh, you got to read this. And they leave it, then come back. They stopped printing them, but there's no copyright, so I bought them, and I sent it to a printer. I had thousands of these. Remember, Michael? I had these, and I used to give these out. Every new associate used to get this in their new rep pack. And there wasn't an appointment that I went on back in the day where I didn't pull out my Buyer's Guide. I said, forget about what your insurance agent said, and forget about what I said. Let's just look at what the Buyer's Guide to Life Insurance says. Check it out. So this right here, Department of Insurance, it says right here, Governor Kane. This is when Kane was the governor. Then Florio, then Whitman, right? Okay, so watch this. Then, and then it would say, and then, so if you look at so right here it says, write to the New Jersey Department of Insurance should you have any complaints or whatever, if you want to get a copy of this right here, and they stopped making them because we wore them out. And then it would talk about all the different areas. Borrowing, watch this, right here where it says loan, the agent, the policy, right? And so I would go through this and I would read, each time I would read it, and I would go through each page with the client. So when the client said to me, and I would say, look, do your homework. And I would say this, and I haven't done this in years, but I used to have this whole thing memorized. Watch, let's see if I have it. Term. It says term is a no-frills model to life insurance industry. It's relatively inexpensive, easy to understand, and in general, the best value per premium dollar. However, there's a good chance your agent will not discuss term insurance is not your family unless you bring it up. Hold on. And then it used to be like, well, I don't understand. My agent, I said, well, term.
Exactly.
I never heard of term. I said, well, term happens to be in the no-frills model life insurance industry. It's relatively inexpensive, easy to understand, and in general, the best value for premium dollar. However, there is a good chance your agent will not discuss term insurance as an option for your family unless you bring it up. So I'm a plumber. My wife owns a nail salon. How are we supposed to bring it up? How are we supposed to know about this? And I would say, did your agent ever discuss term insurance as an option for your family unless you brought it up? See, watch this. When you look at this, and I'll come back to this in a second, check this out. This same person, instead of spending $935 a year, could have went and bought term insurance and took the difference and invested it. Watch this. Instead of spending $935, what you do is you could buy $200,000 in term insurance, 20-year level term. See where it says $300 a year? I just wrote on it, $313 a year. Guaranteed level for 20 years. Guaranteed level for 20 years. Who's the idiot that did that? Right? So guaranteed level for 20 years. So watch this. 200,000. So instead of having 100,000 for $935, picture this being you. This is you. This is A. Instead of spending $935 a year for $100,000, I came to your house and said, listen, for $300 a year, I can lock it in for 20-year level term guaranteed. Instead of spending $935, we'll take $300 from $935. We'll free up $622, which is not a ton. It's only $50 a month. And if we took that and stuck it into an investment, no guarantee, at 6%, it would grow to $63,000. At 9%, $132. At 12%, $283. No guarantee, but I'll show you 4, 5, 6 funds that I own that have averaged over that for the last 30 years, 12 years, 20 years. No guarantee for future. I'm just showing what we could do for you. And so when you look at this right here, buy term and invest the difference, check it out. If you ever need to borrow any money, because what we're going to do is we're going to separate these two. Your insurance is going to be for an insurance company. It's going to be different. This can qualify for an IRA if you need it. It can qualify for a college fund, a 529 plan, a SEP if you're self-employed. Why? Because it's a real investment. Can your life insurance qualify for an IRA? No, because it's a life insurance policy. If you ever need to borrow any money, you don't have to borrow. You just take it. It's yours. If you die, God forbid, your family would get both. If this was A and this was B for the same $935 a year, which would you choose? What happens is most of the companies go like this. Pick one. Take your time. Pick A or A. Or ass, right? And the reason being is, people go, well, why did my agent talk about this? Well, I don't know, but if he showed this to you, it says term. It's a no-frills model life insurance industry. It is relatively inexpensive, easy to understand, and in general, the best value for premium dollar. So you read this and go, please, I don't want the one that's the best value for my premium dollar. What does it say about whole life insurance? Matter of fact, I have it right here. So what? Pluses, premiums remain level, have a savings element. Negative, interest rates are low, higher expensive mortality charges than term, more expensive than term. Why would he sell it to you? I don't know. Premiums remain level and has a savings element. Those are the pluses. The negatives are interest rates are low, higher expensive mortality charges than term, more expensive than term. Well, shit, give me the one that's more expensive and throw it on all the kids too, right? And then it says, which plan should we own? So when you look at the agents, right, check this out. Hold on. See, when it's in a book, it's easier. Here it is, the agent. The premium for plans, right? And it talks about, as the agent, it talks about what commissions and how you get paid on commissions. And it talks about a whole life policy is usually in a range of 55%. Term insurance is usually in a range of 25%. And so when people go, why would my uncle, why would my brother, why would my best friend sell this to me? Why would the guy sell it to me? Why wouldn't he explain it to me? Well, because when you look at it, if this policy right here is $935 a year, and I don't begrudge anybody making money. If you're a business person, you do the right thing for somebody, I don't begrudge anybody making money. But if you make money because you took advantage of somebody, that's scummy. Watch this. This is $935 a year. If I sell this to you, I get 55% commission. So 55% of $935 is what? $475, let's call it. $200,000. Now watch this. $200,000 is $300 a year. So $100,000 would be $150 a year. Commissions for term insurance usually 25%. So what's 25% commission of $150? $37.50. So if the agent sells them a term policy for $100,000, they make $37.50. If the agent sells them a $100,000 whole life policy, the agent makes $475. People go, why would my uncle do that? I go, I don't know. I don't know why he would. There's got to be a couple reasons, I guess. I don't know why he would do it. And the reason being is, listen, it's only expensive if you compare it to something. If I said, hey, listen, Jose and I went out to dinner last night, and we ate like horses, man, and we spent $250, $300 in the city. You'd say, oh, maybe you had lobster, maybe you got a bottle of wine or something. You guys with me? $300, you can spend that on dinner. Maybe went to Nobu, right? Spent a lot of money on sushi. I know we went to McDonald's. Holy shit, right? $300 at McDonald's? We were eating, we were grazing, right? Like, it's not even physically possible. It's only expensive if you have something to compare it to. Does that make sense, guys? And so when people look at it, so watch this. Picture now comes back to what people say about Primerica. So say you've got a whole life policy, it's Prudential, it's Metropolitan, it's New York Life, Northwestern, and they got a whole life policy and I replace it. And the person's got $100,000 of life insurance and I give them $200,000 and save them 70–80% on their money. Are they going to call up and go, oh, it's Primerica? Oh, yeah, you found out about us. Yeah, I've been screwing you. Matter of fact, I screwed you, your parents, and your grandparents. Right? What happens is, they're not going to say that. They're going to go, oh, they do that part-time. Sounds too good to be true. That's a pyramid. That's a scam. You know how many times I would sit down with they would say to me, well, the agent says you're probably part-time. I go, yeah, I run a construction company. I teach a karate school at night. I do this part-time. Right? So we're adding value. One of the things that Art Williams said, the reason we started hiring people part-time is we can hire a better quality person part-time.
Right.
Why? Because if the picture you quit your job tomorrow, you got to pay your bills, it's feast or famine. You'll go out there and sell whatever you can to pay your bills. You want to take care of your family. What if you have a full-time job and have security, right? And you hold on to that and you do this part-time and learn the business and build a confidence. Does that make sense? My goal wasn't to do an insurance class for you tonight. My goal was to kind of give you the confidence to understand every single person that you talk to, if they don't do business with us, I'm telling you they're going to get taken advantage of. I've never seen another policy, ever, never, ever, ever. And I used to replace hundreds of these a year personally. Either personally or doing it, helping somebody field train somebody. And I'm telling you, it never changes. People get taken advantage of. Just want to recognize those of you have guests tonight. And then we're going to wrap this up with this, okay? Esperanza. Your name, same kids? Same kids. All the way to New York? Same kids is in the house. Jessica, good job, yes. Brandon. All right. Brandon's got two guests there. Andrew. Yes. All right. Keith. Amanda. See. Maria. Jimmy Sugasti. Amanda. Rio Herrera. That's two guests. And These guys in hand. You can meet your guests. I'm going to bring up Sam right now. He's got a little recognition to wrap up training. Let her rip, my brother.
Guys, this is cool because they did recognize her on Saturday, but I want to recognize her in this office. Can I have my wife come up too?
Right here, honey.
So, they did it in the steamroller Super Saturday. We did they recognized her on Super Saturday, just the past weekend. I was not there. We were in a men's conference for a church, but I definitely want to give her plaque here too in front of you guys because it's our office, right? So it's a big milestone because I still remember when we were figuring out how to make $5,000 in a month, right? And then the coolest part is when you're vice president and you finally get someone who listens to you and makes $5,000 for the month, over $5,000. And it's so cool that you'll see her next couple of months making over 10 next plaque. But I want to recognize Lovely and Vaughn McCowan.
Put the shortest person next to him.
1, 2, 3. Got it. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go meet with all the people that guessed. Hey guys, have a great week. Those of you that are gonna be plugging in with us this weekend at our Super Saturday, we'll see you then. The rest of you, we gotta pack it out and stir it up. Listen, Josh is doing a great job, but he's a perfect example that if you just put the time and energy in, you could do exactly the same things, right? If he asks the same questions, you get the same results. He just has an intensity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
7,000 last month of personal premium, probably do over 20,000 this month. We need people competing with that. Have a great week, guys. Stay well.